For more than a century, tens of thousands of Indigenous children were taken from their communities and forced into boarding schools run by the U.S. government, specifically the Department of the Interior and religious institutions. When my maternal grandparents were only 8 years old, they were stolen from their parents' culture and communities and forced to live in boarding schools until the age of 13. Many children like them never made it back to their homes. The federal policies that attempted to wipe out Native identity, language, and culture continue to manifest in the pain tribal communities face today, including cycles of violence and abuse, disappearance of Indigenous people, premature deaths, poverty and loss of wealth, mental health disorders, and substance abuse. Recognizing the impacts of the federal Indian boarding school system cannot just be a historical reckoning. We must also chart a path forward to deal with these legacy issues.
That is Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland, announcing in that she is going to be conducting a year-long tour for a number of different officials in the Department of Interior, where they're going to be meeting with and then helping to publicize the stories of the sorts of students that she was just talking about right there that had been in these boarding schools, which operated in dozens of states, specifically for Native American tribes, for kids to be taken. And sometimes they come out the other end, sometimes they don't. So they're gonna be helping people to hear those stories. Along the way though, they identified more than 500 student deaths at these institutions. Not at all of them, by the way. They looked at just 20 of them and they've identified more than 500 student deaths. There were hundreds and hundreds of these. And I can't stress this enough. We've seen a couple different news cycles about Canada beginning to reckon with very similar schools. These are American ones. These hundreds across dozens of states operating for decades and decades and decades. It is not just in Canada, it was happening here too, Aida.
Yeah, of course it was. It was happening in Australia with the rabbit fence. It was happening all over, the world. And we tend to forget the First Nations people who we should be thanking every day for allowing us to be on their land. It's just egregious. Many women, tribal women, go missing and you never hear about them. The abuse against tribal women in this country is through the roof. The disappearances today are through the roof. And yet and still, you have to be blonde with blue eyes for your face to be made a public figure for people to try to find you. And the thing is that I don't resent that. I want everybody to matter. I don't want little white girls not to matter when they go missing. I just want little black girls, little brown girls, little indigenous girls, little Asian girls to matter too. And I don't understand why that's so hard for some people to accept.
I think that sounds incredibly reasonable. And it's not generally what we see. Occasionally, there'll be a story if there's something particularly dramatic about it that breaks the pattern, but that's generally not how it works. And this, I'm glad that Deb Haaland, Secretary Haaland, is going to be doing this because maybe it'll give us an opportunity over the next year for more of these stories to come out, for people to learn about this incredibly dark history. Our team did a great job of compiling some of this information. Unfortunately, we're about to run up against the end of the hour, so we don't have time to dive into it. But PBS right now has a great breakdown of some of what the Department of Interior has already uncovered, and they're going to be continuing this work up until a Republican gets back in office and kills the entire thing. So you got that to look forward to.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.